Dude, what is happening with these game companies and game reviewers? They're going crazy. They're basically just saying the quiet part out loud, that they're just gonna not give good games high scores unless they have their stupid, crazy DEI politics in them. IGN is completely crashed out. Not just IGN. This is just the one we're gonna talk about today. So what you gotta say about it, Legendary Drops? What happened at IGN? These wokies are losing their minds.
Never did I ever think I would see the day that we would see a games journalist crash out on social media and just say the quiet part out loud. That they are going to reduce the scores of games in the future if those games do not align with their personal politics or their personal ideology.
Bro, you know, I've been saying this for years, that it just keeps getting worse, and if we don't start talking about it and acting like that it's actually happening, then it's gonna get worse. And really famous people that I like were saying, you're all crazy. It's not happening. You're making it up in your heads. Well, guess what? Look where we are now. They are actively destroying games that we love, like Dragon Age, Assassin's Creed. All right.
It's never been said until now. We live in a world with such little accountability and responsibility that what happened to professionalism? Where did it go? What happened to just doing your job? How do you not recognize that when you are in a public forum and you are using the credentials of your employer at IGN, at PC Gamer, in your bio, you are representing that company. You are using their authority that they have given to you, and you are using the engagement that has been afforded to you because of your relationship with them to go out and propagate your ideas and say these kind of things. That reflects on them. That reflects on your fellow writers.
I believe that these companies are actively getting payments from, like, these strange government-operated communist programs. And that's how these people get in there. That's how they make so much money. That's how they can lose so much money and somehow keep getting worse and double down on it and triple down.
You don't care about that. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't understand how people can even come to this. I don't understand.
There is no woke agenda, even Penguin Zero said. He probably doesn't talk about it now because he was wrong. There is a woke agenda. There was a woke agenda the entire time.
Understand how they could think that something like this is acceptable. And it makes a lot of sense as to why a lot of people don't find game journalism all that relevant anymore, because they see that they don't respect their job, they don't respect their fellow writers, and they definitely don't respect their audience. They're constantly trying to attack them. They're pridefully admitting.
Well, we're not the audience. Actually, you know what? No, we are the audience, because for some reason, hate gets clicks now. And that's what people go for. Taylor Swift is a good example. She gets so much hate. She gets more hate every day. But the more hate she gets, the more popular she is, because it's creating a conversation online about her.
Pridefully admitting an abuse of power. They're done. It's over. They're cooked. They're crashing out. Today what we're going to do is we are going to
all of the clickbait phrases, but they're all true. They're not just regular clickbait when they're all true.
Talk about video game journalism insanity, and why the echo chamber that this industry has built for itself is now going to be its downfall. I'm never going to run out of content. But before that, I need to...
Dude, I was looking at all of the videos that I could do today, and I was like, man, I need to make like 5 videos today if I want to talk about all this stuff. Even more. Like, that was just the ones that I was interested in, that I looked at right away on my Watch Later feed.
Thank you, guys, because if it wasn't for the support that you showed during the last Displayed sponsor, well, they wouldn't have come back for a second round, and I wouldn't be able to
Displayed's
feed
cool.
My growing hunger for these texture designs. Look at this thing, dude.
That is cool.
It is so cool.
Yep.
Displayed's texture designs take things to an entirely new level with tactile 3.
I like Displayed,
and it
but
are
let's skip over this.
Tools. No, you can click the link in the description below or head to Displayed.com and use my code LEGENDARY at checkout to get the best deal. This offer won't last forever, so don't miss your chance to grab some of these premium designs at an unbeatable price. Games journalism used to mean something. It was supposed to be about keeping players informed, holding developers accountable, and exposing bad business practices. Back in the day, if a game sucked or launched in a broken state, you could count on games media to tear it apart in their reviews. Heck, you were...
yeah, way more than today. But I do remember back in the day, there was a lot of access journalism where games were getting like higher scores than they were supposed to, ended up being bad. Games were getting lower scores than they were supposed to. Remember 7 out of 10 too much water?
We're looking forward to it. That's just not the case anymore. Somewhere along the way, they just stopped working for us. Now, instead of protecting players from bad games, they're protecting bad games from players, protecting studios and developers from their audience, or they've just fully switched to political propaganda. It didn't happen overnight, but the shift is undeniable. Instead of giving honest reviews, journalists have become cheerleaders for the...
And I've been talking about this for years, literal years. Since like 2016 is when all this really started to propagate. And everybody said I was crazy. Even my friends up until last year were like, no, it's not really happening. Dragon Age was like when the Veil Guard, how ironic. That's when the veil was lifted for a lot of these people.
Industry and their own biases and ideologies. Not good games, not for the customers, not for the people that are supposed to be reading these articles in the first place, but for themselves and their own egos. Instead of being our voice like they used to be before, they started talking down to us, devaluing our opinions, and trying to teach those toxic gamers a lesson. The players are no longer customers to be informed, but they are dissidents to be educated. You've seen the headlines, you can feel the vitriol.
We should have listened, we should have done something sooner. We've been telling you that and you called us crazy.
And it's led players to believe that they're alone. They're on their own. Nobody's fighting for them. Nobody is in their corner. And those who used to be an ally, those who used to share their perspective, have tried to take control of our beloved hobby for their own self-serving goals. Outside of a handful of journalists, I've just reached the point where I cannot trust game review scores anymore. Dragon Age The Veilguard was hailed by reviewers. Black Myth Wukong was character assassinated before it even released. Concord, one of the biggest flops.
Bro. Dragon Age Veilguard. I talk about it all the time because I think it's just the worst case of it. I remember seeing every games journalist glazing it, saying it's amazing. This is the newest big game, 9 out of 10. And it failed. Nobody trusts these game journalists anymore. I didn't trust them in the first place. I don't trust any journalist.
In gaming history, had journalists saying that they couldn't wait to play more of it. While game reviews are opinions, they are a service that's provided to both the players and studios to make games better. However, over the past few years, they've begun to read more like personal manifestos than any type of critical analysis of a product. You'd be hard-pressed to find a game review today that doesn't include some level of political or social political discourse, either cheerleading a game for pushing forth their beliefs or chastising the players that are saying that they don't want it. While journalists have pretended that this bias doesn't actually exist and saying that it's just in our heads, well, now they let the mask slip. Writer for PC...
Yeah, and they're not even thinking about the long-term player base. They want to make games for the modern audience so they can just think about how much money it's going to make right off the bat. And they're not thinking about the future money, the future players. There are games that become super uber successful because they're long-term support and it's just being a good game. No Man's Sky, Stardew Valley, Terraria, great examples.
PC Gamer and IGN, Lena Hafer, the same writer who scored Dragon Age The Veilguard a 9 out of 10, is one of many gaming journalists that are having a hard time dealing with the 2024 election results. After the recent signing, changing the name of Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, they took to Twitter to write, "I'll take a whole point off the review score of any future map games that call it the Gulf of America. You think I'm joking? You think I want to do this forever? I can start some fires on the way out. Try to call my bluff."
Yep, so we're just not going to believe IGN at all. None at all. Because people like this, are they getting rid of this person or is this person going to stay at IGN? Because they should get rid of them because they actively just said, hey, I'm going to make these scores lower because I have this politics that I just can't get out of. I don't want to get out of because I'm fucking insane. They drank the Kool-Aid and dyed their hair with it.
Nobody has ever let this amount of soft power go to their heads before, as far as I know. Where's the accountability and professionalism? I know that some people are going to make the argument that Lena shouldn't face any repercussions for using their freedom of speech in their off time, saying something on a public platform.
Sure, you got freedom of speech, but when you're working at a company that's all about honesty and like what you think about a game, you lose credibility. And then if the company doesn't get rid of you because their politics align with your politics, they lose credibility, which they already lost credibility many, many, many times. I don't know why. At this point, I think IGN makes their money two ways. One, government funding from communists. And two, people clicking on it because they want to hate on it and react to it.
Platform, but you have IGN's name and PC Gamer's names in your bio, showing that you're employed by them.
Oh,
That's how you
PC
got your
Gamer.
influence. That's why you have your followers. You know, in construction, we had a project manager that got fired because his company vehicle was parked outside of a gentleman's club. You may be on your free time, but when you're running around doing whatever you want, flying the flag of your employer, you are representing that employer, and it makes them look complicit in your actions. I am sick of seeing developers and journalists representing their company, making a fool out of their organization without any consequences. What is going on here? Do they not realize the irony of their soft power statement when they themselves are threatening to use their
not only do they not realize, they don't care when you bring it up.
power as an industry analyst to penalize and attempt to reduce the sales and impacts of games, to hold companies accountable to their self-imposed purity test for something that is now legally named the Gulf of America. These journalists never take the time to self-reflect. They are
Gulf of America, that's so funny, man. That is so funny. That people, like, they didn't just randomly rename it Gulf of America. There's a reason it got renamed Gulf of America.
so captured by their own ego and main character syndrome that they are oblivious to the consequences of their actions or how
It was for offshore drilling, and I'm halfway for it.
it reflects on their employers. When a games journalist just openly admits that they would punish a game based on their own personal beliefs rather than the actual quality of the product, it confirms exactly what players have suspected for years. Game reviews are no longer about games. They're about pushing narratives, exerting influence, and trying to control the industry. No wonder they lost their minds when Black Myth Wukong developers wouldn't respond to their allegations, because they need that power. They need that influence. They can't have these developers that are stepping out of line.
World of Warcraft is about to be in deep shit because Riot, a Chinese company, is coming out with a competitor to World of Warcraft. Blizzard's gonna be so cooked because it's just gonna be better. Because they're gonna look at, they're gonna pay attention to all the failures of these game companies and these video games. They're gonna be like, I know the formula to make a successful game. Steal their game. Take out everything that people don't like. Boom. Success. Would you look at that?
This isn't about one writer having a meltdown on Twitter. This is an entire framework of modern gaming media. These journalists are trying to shape public perception, to influence sales, and to try to determine exactly what games are considered acceptable to them.
Not just games. It's movies industry. It's TV shows. It's everywhere, man. It's an ideology that's broken through. And, by the way, happens all the time throughout history. There's always an ideology that thinks that they're the right ideology that's trying to take out the normal people. And a lot of times it's successful. I don't think that they're going to succeed with this one because it's all based on money rather than lives.
And while their relevance is waning, it's still there. And if they're willing to dock points on a review for something as trivial as developers following a legal name change, what else are they willing to manipulate? It opens the door wide to every conspiracy theory under the sun, and it leads me to believe that their beliefs are exactly what have ruined games today. Maybe this is why so many games feel the same, why studios prioritize ideology over creativity, and why we have felt that our needs aren't being met or understood. Because once game reviews stopped being about...
Yeah, like, look at Borderlands 4. They changed the engine, they changed the art style, they put a bunch of gay characters in it, made them diverse. They took out the cell shading. No, thank you. It's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad. It's going to feel like every other Unreal Engine game. It's going to look like every Unreal Engine game because they didn't want to take the time and put in the work to make it a good game. They want to make it like every other game.
Informing players and started being about teaching lessons, they ceased to be reviews at all. They became propaganda, a system used to exert influence over a medium. How many...
We're going to be diverse and different here, except for you. Because you're different. You're not like us.
Times have you guys heard, no, those toxic gamers believing that we're trying to control the industry, ruin their games? You wonder why people don't respect you when you don't respect the intelligence of your audience. You don't even respect your audience at all. Heck, you don't even respect your own coworkers for that matter when you act like this, when you say things like
Some ordinary gamers, Penguin Zero, always talking about, well, I don't know if they haven't really talked about it recently, but they used to talk about it like, oh, this is just conspiracy theory. I don't care if there's a little bit of gayness in my game. Well, you give them an inch, they take a fucking mile. They take 10 miles, 20, 100.
like this. You wonder why you're losing relevance. You are ruining your own industry. You're deleting your own job. You know, not long ago, I made a video that was titled, "These game developers are ruining their games." And in it, I showcased a bunch of different interactions.
Right-wing extremists are ruining the gaming industry, is what these people say. When what they're really talking about is normal people aren't reading their articles to figure out which games to play anymore because the games they're telling us to play are garbage and trying to lecture us about stuff that is evil and wrong.
Of game developers talking down or attacking their audience, espousing their ideologies, political ideologies, social political ideology, whatever it might be, and crashing out, making themselves look like a fool, and by extension, making their employer look like a fool. That same issue is happening in games journalism today, if not worse. What's the saying?
If you don't play my game, you're a bigot and a Nazi.
Don't talk politics or religion in polite company. That's professionalism. I am here because I'm trying to buy a commercial product, and you are force feeding information to me that I don't want, nor am I interested in. You know, I talked about this where when the Avowed director started screeching at Elon Musk online, I lost interest in a game that I was otherwise really excited for. I was looking forward to Avowed. Not anymore. Because why would I be?
I knew from the beginning. I didn't even have to see anything. All I had to see was they were using that weird purple color that every woke game uses for some reason. I don't understand what I even like the color purple, but they all use this weird purple color. And it's the same kind of like vibe for all of these games. That it's like a Fortnite kind of thing. I don't understand it.
If you're this unprofessional and messy on a public platform, using your employer's name that's attached to it, using the influence that that company gave you to talk about these things and act that way, well, why would I think that you would be professional at your job? Better yet, if you're that ideologically captured, that likely means it's going to reflect directly into your game. And guess
exactly. What? When you got purple-haired, green-haired freaks talking shit about people like me online and they're working on these games saying that I don't even want you to play this game because this is for gay people. This is the gayest game we've ever made. We're making it so gay. Like, come on.
I don't want to pay to be propagandized. Who would have thought? It's the same for games journalism as it is for games. I do not want to pay you with my attention to be propagandized. I'm here for a critical opinion about a video game so I can make a smart purchase.
Now, the real game journalists are streamers. Streamers are the real game journalists now. Those are the people I go to for my scores. If Asmongold likes a game, it's going to be good.
That's what I'm here for. But
that's why the wokies don't like Asmongold. And people like him.
Only thing that they have continued to do year over year is prove that that is not what they're here to do. They are here to change your mind. By now, it should be clear to just about anyone that games journalism isn't about covering games anymore. They have tried to shape the industry itself. They don't just report on trends, they are trying to create them. They don't just review games, they want to define what is acceptable for game developers to make. And worst of all, they reinforce each other's narratives to make sure that no dissenting voices can get through. This is how the gaming media echo chamber works. They don't operate as independent critics or journalists. They function as a collective, a hive mind of right think, a singular voice repeating the same talking points, pushing the same perspectives, and shutting down any form of real discussion. Dragon Age the Veilguard is a return to form for BioWare. A return to form for BioWare. A return to form for BioWare. Gone are the days when...
Oh boy, that aged well. Return to form. What form? Being a big fucking baby?
Gaming outlets had distinct voices, perspectives, and approaches. Today, almost every major gaming site feels the same. The reason? Well, most of these guys are owned by the same corporate entities, staffed by the same writers, and beholden to the same ideological framework. Ziff Davis owns IGN, GameIndustry.biz, Eurogamer, Rock Paper Shotgun, and VG247. Geo Media owns Kotaku, The Verge, Gizmodo, and Deadspin. Future PLC owns PC Gamer, Games Radar Plus, and Tech Radar. When the same few corporations own nearly all of the biggest gaming sites, you don't get any real diversity of thought. You get a unified, self-reinforcing narrative. That's why our needs are never understood or
Diversity. They want to shout diversity, but they all have the same colored hair, which is all the colors. They all have the same politics. They all work for the same companies, play the same games, make the same games, use the same colors in the games, use the same types of characters. I'm not allowed in there, though. I'm not allowed to have fun. I'm not allowed to have my things in there because I'm not diverse enough.
or met, because we do have a diversity in opinion. When players say something along the lines of "we don't want politics in games," they purposefully misinterpret that and start writing articles like "Metaphor ReFantazio's success is further proof that politics are good in games." Actually, no matter what reactionaries tell you.
Didn't play it.
Hell, I never even covered this, but IGN wrote a 2024 election breakdown and how your vote could impact video games. And while it presented itself as unbiased, it folded immediately under any scrutiny. A video game journalist and which way outlet trying to tell me how to vote. Better yet, did IGN even write this? Because they didn't even actually attribute this to a single writer. They just said this was written by staff. Look at how often they inject the same political opinions into video games where the discussion doesn't even belong. The players do not care about these things. Only they do. And God, are they obsessed with Elon Musk? Elon Musk branded right-wing Karen. Why is Elon Musk lashing out at games for being too woke? Elon Musk somehow became the top-ranked Diablo 4 player in between cheerleading for Donald Trump.
Well, I can tell you how he became the top Diablo 4 player, and it wasn't by himself. He paid somebody to do it for him. Same with PoE 2. He admitted it. He admitted it.
Then we watch as they unilaterally turn around and start bashing game designers and developers for making decisions that clash with their ideology. When Dragon Quest III designers mentioned that they didn't like the removal of gender...
Our game is failing, and their games are succeeding because they're all Nazis. Makes sense.
...characters in the game's remake, outlets called them weird for even mentioning it or caring because it's so normalized nowadays.
Dude, I got so much hate for the Dragon Quest III video that I made. And guess what? I was fucking right! Like always, I'm never wrong! I'm the smartest man alive!
When Lords of the Fallen's publisher polled their audience, they asked them if they wanted to keep body type A and B or go back to male and female. They changed it based on the audience's vote. PC Gamer
Democracy.
Then says they are embracing the fear of the DEI boogeyman. This isn't journalism. This is narrative management. Where is the diversity in thought? Where is the critical thinking? Why is it a creative freedom when developers make something that aligns with what
I can tell you what the issue is, actually, because these people know. They know what they're doing. They're just evil liars. When they talk about, oh, we're diverse, they are liars, and they know that they're doing it on purpose, and they know they are lying.
Journalists have for their own personal ideologies and the players don't like, yet it's
They don't care.
fear-mongering and hateful when they choose to do something different. And this has gone unabated for so long because nobody's holding them accountable. Nobody's pushing back on them other than the players. They've created...
Yeah, I'm holding them accountable. Asmongold's holding them accountable. Nuxanor's holding them accountable. Now my friends are holding them accountable by not buying these games, and they're buying good games. A lot of my friends, including myself, are just playing old games. I'm about to start Mass Effect Trilogy. I've been playing Terraria.
This self-sustaining system where journalists just prop up each other's careers, reinforcing the same narrative and shutting out dissenting voices. That's the reason why you always see them citing one another in their articles. They're effectively retweeting and reposting the same websites to flood the internet with their beliefs and their ideas. It's the same thing that you're seeing happening on Reddit right now. They keep posting, flooding the timelines to make it look like their opinion is the dominant one, when in reality, they're just trying to drown out everybody else. That's what's helped created this facsimile of power, and it's arguably created such a hostile environment for players and developers. And
look what it's done to me. I'm sitting here bouncing around and screaming around like I was right. You're all fucking retards. These people are insane. You should have been listening to me.
Argue that's what's led to so many games being ruined over time. Developers believe that the media has influence. At least that's what it looks like to them. That's why you always hear them talk about how happy they are that games reviewed well before they even ever talk about how the players like the game. Honestly, that's more of a call sign for me to know that the game probably isn't any good. I think that we've had years of games being made for journalists rather than the players because there has always been this unspoken threat. If your game doesn't align with our worldview, well, then we're probably going to dock points from you. If your studio doesn't play nice, well, then we're going to write negative stories about it.
Now it's gotten to the point where, oh, IGN gave this game a 5 out of 10. It's probably good.
You. If you refuse to engage with us, well, then we're going to have to create some type of controversy around you, even if none exists. Think about how this shapes the games that we get. Why do so many AAA games feel the same? Well, because the devs are designing the game with critics in mind, not the players. Why do games increasingly have corporate-approved political messaging? Well,
It's like at these awards shows for movies where they give each other awards and nobody's seen these movies. They're like artsy movies and they're all like the same movies, same types of movies for the same types of people that no regular people have ever seen.
Well, that's because journalists will punish them if the game doesn't include it. Why do so many devs grovel and apologize at the first sign of controversy? Well, because they know gaming media will not give them a fair shot otherwise. The funny thing is, this is what has become a deciding factor when it comes to whether or not a game does well or it doesn't. The games that ignore the media, they are the ones that are finding success. The studios that haven't, and the people that still believe the media holds power and influence, well, they're creating games for a non-existent audience. I think it's developed a creative wasteland where developers are walking on eggshells, forced to cater to a small group of ideologically aligned journalists, and they're making games for them rather than the people that actually buy their games in the first place. This is why games feel less daring, less risky, and more formulaic. It's because these people, with their soft power in gaming, don't reward creativity, they reward compliance. For many years,
When I see a game company that switches their engine to Unreal Engine, that's what I automatically think now, is that, oh, they got lazy and they're full of woke people, this is going to be garbage.
gaming journalists held a very privileged position within this industry. They were the gatekeepers, the tastemakers. They could make or break a game by covering it. They could promote them, and they were the ones that brought them to an audience. They could dictate who was worthy of praise and what was destined to fail. They could control the flow of information, shape public perception, and for a time, it worked. Developers listened to them and players trusted them, but that trust is gone. Not because of gaming journalism as a whole, but because of a toxic few that have compromised their integrity, built an echo chamber, and alienated the very people that they're supposed to serve. Instead of reporting for the audience, they started reporting for each other. Instead of informing the players, they started lecturing them. Instead of reviewing games, they started enforcing ideological purity tests. And the result, a slow, painful collapse. Website traffic is dropping every year. Social media engagement is shrinking. The only thing that's keeping some of these sites afloat is the ad revenue that they're getting from monetizing game trailers on YouTube. But even that's starting to slip as publishers are starting to cut out the middleman and just post it directly to their own channels. Players...
Yeah, and also, don't forget that I'm not going to watch an IGN video. I will watch somebody watch an IGN video. It didn't used to be like that. Now, Asmongold gets all the views for the trailer and all the ad revenue for the trailer because he's reacting to it and talking about it and telling his thoughts about it and playing these games. And I'm not playing them, we're not playing them, we're not buying them. We just want to see somebody play a bad game because it's funny.
Don't need gaming journalists anymore. They've ruined that relationship with their own egos. They watch
Yep.
YouTubers who actually engage with the games. They follow Twitch streamers whose reactions are real and not scripted.
Not Twitch streamers mostly, because a lot of them are compromised too, because Twitch platform is also woke and terrorist adjacent.
They find independent reviewers on Substack or Patreon who aren't beholden to corporate interests. The media doesn't dictate the conversation anymore. The players do. More game developers are starting to make games for players, not critics. More Eastern studios are breaking into the global market, immune to Western media's influence. More publishers are starting to realize that the power of reviews is diminishing and word of mouth is king. Player reviews are king. They can scream, they can cry, they can double down on their activism and their echo chambers. It won't matter. The audience is gone, and these outbursts that we're seeing from the IGN writer are only pushing the audience further away. Their influence is shrinking, and the future of gaming belongs to the people who actually care about games, not the people that are trying to spend all their time controlling them. If you're a games journalist and you made it to this part of the video, I highly doubt that's the case. I don't think any of them actually watch me. The only time I've ever seen them talk about me is when they put me next to Asmongold because he reacted to one of my videos or something like that, and they're like, "Rah!" I'm not talking about all of you. I think there are some great writers and some great journalists that are out there, and there's a toxic few that have taken control, and they have ruined the entire industry for you. I love Eric Kane's work over at Forbes. There's a ton of articles of his that I completely disagree with, and a bunch of them that I really agree with, but it's the way that things are framed, and it's never trying to preach to an audience, and it's never the same voice that you hear from so many other outlets. The same thing goes, I've been really enjoying the work of Casey DeFreitas. Works at IGN. She's been covering Monster Hunter Wilds, doing an incredible job. On topic, relevant, informational, a Monster Hunter veteran that is.
Some of the wokeism has made its way into the Monster Hunter games, though. I feel if we don't put a stop to this kind of stuff, that the next Monster Hunter is going to have even more, and the next one's going to have even more, and it's just going to keep getting worse.
Talking about their experience with Monster Hunter Wilds and covering the game and doing a fantastic job at doing it. And it's exactly what players are coming to you guys for. This is what we want. This is what we want more of. And if you did more of that, well, you'd see quite a big bump in engagement and just people genuinely enjoying your content. But you have a circle, you have a cabal, you have a bunch of narcissistic and egotistical writers that are out there that believe that they have the right to impose their beliefs not only on the industry, not only on the games, but also on the audience.
They tell us what we have to like, and if we don't like it, then there's something wrong with us.
And they're doing it at the cost of their credibility, their peers' credibility, and the credibility of the entire industry. And that's the reason why there are so many issues with games journalism today. It's the reason why people just don't want to pay attention to it. And by the way, I'm not going to pretend like there aren't issues with some of the more right-leaning media that's out there as well. Okay, because I've seen some of the articles.
Oh yeah, they push it way too far. Way too far. Like, they think the Jews control the gaming industry, which sure, maybe some of it, but it looks to me like the crazy blue-haired leftists are the ones who really control the gaming industry, and who knows, maybe they're controlled by the Jews. Who cares? I don't care who controls this stuff. It could be Xi Jinping himself using sweatshops and keeping it secret. I'm still not going to play bad games, and I'm still going to play good games.
That have been posted. You would think that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is Dragon Age the Veilguard Part 2. It's fucking embarrassing. I want to be...
There's one thing in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 that will keep me from playing it, and that is there is an underage sex scene. I don't think it actually shows anything, but it is pretty explicit. I haven't seen it, but I've heard credible people talk about it. Please leave down there in the comments if there's what I should know about this, if this is actually a thing that I should care about. From people who think like me, I don't even know if I should be asking that, because there will be people who will be like, I think like you. No, there's nothing wrong with it. No, I don't want an underage gay sex scene. That is disgusting. And if that is actually in that game, it needs to be shut down, and everybody involved in its creation needs to be fucking arrested.
Be critically clear about something, and I think this is probably the most important thing to bring up here, is that I don't include my personal politics in videos.
I do.
One, because I don't really have any, to be honest. Politics just don't really interest me all that much. It just bores the shit out of me. Oh, they affect you. I know. I play video.
My politics are, don't be an insane fucking leftist. Don't be an insane right-wing guy. Rightist.
Video games. I'm here to talk about video games.
Don't be insane.
I'm here to talk about games that I love and talk about games that I hate. I'm here to talk about news that I find relevant, or something that I'm interested in, or something that makes me angry. This is my confessional booth, okay? I get cathartic relief from writing essays and making videos and doing those kind of things. I am here to provide a service. I do not lose sight of that. I am a content creator that is making content to be consumed by you for your entertainment or for your insight or whatever.
And you know how many times I get called a grifter? Because I talk about stuff like this. They call me a grifter. You know what a grifter means? Somebody who fakes their ideals and fakes how they feel about things to make money and to be on the correct side. No, I barely make money. I could literally talk about anything that I want. I could go gay and talk about gay stuff. I'd probably make more money. Apparently, that's how you make the fucking money. That's how you get government to give you money, is just be weird and not even be gay. I say that, but like, I know gay people that are not like these people and that are actually cool and they're not sexual degenerates.
It might be. That's it. That's as far as this relationship goes. I don't need to teach you nothing. I don't need to make you be something. I don't need to change the world. I'm just here having a good time.
True.
And that's all it needs to be.
Me too, man.
And I think the vast majority of the industry and a lot of these writers have completely lost.
I scream and jump around, but like, I'm not actually mad. I am embracing the chaos. I'm having a real good time watching all these people lose their fucking minds. Especially now that they're failing, everything's crashing around them.
Side of that. And instead, well, they just think it's a vehicle to drive whatever their ideology is. And that's what they've been using it for. They've hijacked the industry to use it for that purpose. And that's a problem. And it's the same in games as it is in games journalism. Because
not just, it's in movies and shows too, and like board games and like books. It's everywhere, man.
Your stance, this is not your place to make a stance for your ideology or your political leanings or whatever it might be. These are commercial products. This is a service. This is a product and service industry. We are buying video games, and then we are going to somebody else to hear about those games or to understand them better or to have them reviewed or whatever it might be. You're the quality control. Journalists are the quality control, but that service isn't being served, and that's a problem. You know, call me a traditionalist, call me a prude.
I think journalists were the quality control when there weren't as many video games. Now, like, we used to be able to keep up with how many video games there were because there was, like, PC, sure, there was a lot that people didn't know about was coming out. But for the most part, on the consoles, which was where most people were, they knew what games were coming out. And they relied on journalists to pick through and be like, these are the good ones, these are the ones you kind of need to stay away from. And people, for the most part, were like, okay, the 0 out of 10, the 1 out of 10, we'll save those to make funny videos. And then the rest of them were playable, and the ones at the top were the ones at the top. And sometimes IGN would be like 7 out of 10, too much water.
But when I see people like Lena go out on social media and say shit like that, like, the lack of professionalism just really bothers me. Like, I feel like people really crave that.
The lack of professionalism is there because they're all children. They never grew up past 6 years old. They went through puberty with a 6-year-old brain.
It's not even crave. I think people expect it. They don't expect people in positions of authority to act like that. And when you're a game reviewer,
I do now.
You are in a position of authority because you do
not anymore.
Shape the discussions around these games, you shape the reception of those games, and you ultimately will shape the destiny of some of these studios in some cases. While, yeah, I know game reviewers aren't as relevant as they were, you know, many years ago, they do still have some relevance. Not as much
not
as
to
before.
Me.
Probably a heck of a lot less now, but
almost zero.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching the video.
You're welcome.
If you guys enjoyed the video, found it useful in any way, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, comment down below. Follow me on Twitch. The link is down below. And I think that's all I can remember.
This guy's awesome. I love watching his videos. He says it like it is. He pretty much aligns with me. There are some things that he says that he doesn't take it extreme enough, in my opinion. I think I'm a little bit more extreme. You know, you know what? I'm not playing any of these games. I'm done watching them. I'll watch Asmongold play them. I'm done checking out the trailers. I'm done looking into articles. Not going to them. Mass Effect 4 is gonna fucking suck, and so is Borderlands 4, and that was my favorite franchise was Borderlands. Fuck this whole game industry.